So our presentation today will be a 1-hour presentation. Normally we hang around for a while after that to ask more questions. You do have to reconfigure the room fairly quickly after that, so there won't be as much time after unless we go downstairs to the lobby and mingle down there, because we have to reconfigure our wilder meters. So we always start out our meetings with introductions and just go around the room so you can talk about yourself, you can tell a joke, your name and your what for. So I'm Doug Petty. I'm a planner with Ramsey County. And
I'm Yvonne Leonard. I actually do communications for Washington County. And the information was passed on, of course, by our finance director. So I take care of our website, so I'm going to see what other people are doing. Good afternoon. I'm Kathy Schill. I work in the do simple analysis, mostly for the tax committee. But we're always looking at transparency. Carol Kay, the finance director of the city of Minnesota, and I'm conducted in the government finance office association, and so I think this is a good best practice transparency. So I'm very interested in maybe share at national or statewide level.
Okay. I'm Don Fraser. I was involved in city government in the 90s.
I'm Marissa Peterson. I'm from the city of St. Paul. We recently launched a kind of financial transparency portal, open budget. So I was kind of involved in that. So I was interested in being here.
I'm Andrew Lenz. I'm an IT developer with Hennepin County. Work on maintaining some of these financial transparency platforms that we're going to be walking through with you.
I'm Cindy Twistle, Hennepin County Controller, and you'll hear more about me when it's my turn.
Jeff Schneider, City of Minneapolis Coordinator of the Office, and I'll be presenting the Minneapolis website here.
Ron Movitz, I work for the state of Minnesota, Minnesota Management and Budget, and I'll be presenting the transparency site for the state. I oversee the state's financial system, SWIFT.
Peter Matheson, Wilder District.
County and the Minnesota County Computer Cooperative. Just different software applications.
Lee Merkins, Ramsey County CFO.
Neil Young, Reed.
Mary Karch, Ramsey County Policy Division.
My name is Shauna Grady. I'm a student at the University of Minnesota as a statistics major. I saw this event online and thought it would be useful one day to learn how to navigate this site and draw information from it.
Joanne Barrett, I'm from Hennepin County, and I coordinate the county
City of St. Louis Park, and we are just excited
Jesse Dorn, I'm with Afterlife Myers, and we do consulting for small cities.
Joanna Bird, Deputy County Manager, Ramsey County, and a co-sponsor of our open bid.
Corey Johnson, I'm from the city of Western Park. We're eligible to do after.
I'm the finance director of Brooklyn Park, and this is something that we are looking into as well. We're looking at updating our website and trying to figure out of how to map it so that it provides better information for us.
Mary Dunning, City of Minneapolis. I'm the accounting director, and I've been involved in an open gov project.
Nicole Dabry, I'm with the People Functional Support Leader for the city of Minneapolis.
I do property tax research for the Department of Revenue, and I'm here basically because we'd like to improve access to the data.
Okay, great. So today we have not one, not two, but three presenters that are kind of getting up there with Trump bankruptcy. And going to what we're talking about, financial transparency, presenters are already introduced themselves, but we have Jeff Snyder with the City of Minneapolis, Ron Mavitz, who's Director of SWIFT at the State of Minnesota, and Cindy Crystal, who's with Hennepin County. So with that, I'll turn it over to them. And then, because we have 3 presenters, I think it's probably best we hold questions till the end.
This is informal. We're going to try to do 15 minutes each, and if somebody has a burning question, I'm not going to be offended if you jump in, but just understand that we'd like to get all. Have you? Yeah.
Time for all. For everybody.
Yeah. So, just maybe 1 or 2 words of general introduction. I mean, most of us are familiar with kind of the whole open data movement, washing across the country. Financial transparency is sort of a subset of that, and many governments. We were not the first in Minnesota. There are probably somewhere between 20 and 40 governments in Minnesota that have some version of this site, and this is becoming kind of where things are going within public finance. Carol, I was on the phone yesterday with Mike Muka from GFOA, research, and the GFOA nationally. Meryl's on the board of the National Government Finance Officers Association, and Mike told me yesterday that they are looking at, don't have immediate plans, looking at some future guidance around this, and maybe best practices and stuff. Their U.S. Public Interest Research Group a few years ago rated the 30 largest cities about their financial transparency. Back in January of 2013, Minneapolis got a D- in that ranking. So that kind of put their ears up. They continue to rank states. The state
USPIRG is the research group that ranks state governments annually.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about that.
The state's doing better than we are. So.
We got to be.
So anyway, we're just going to, kind of just dive in, and we're going to just do this live. There is a 1-page handout if you haven't seen it, just kind of comparing some basic features about our site, and our contact information is there. So, this is the landing page of, so Minneapolis, when we set out on this path, we decided to hire it out rather than create it ourselves. That's a different choice than my 2 other panelists here, and because we were in the middle of a system upgrade, and there wasn't a lot of excess horsepower to actually dive in and build something. So we interviewed a couple of vendors. We ended up with a company called OpenGov. They're out of Silicon Valley. They had just won an award for doing this site for the city of Palo Alto. It was presented at a national GFOA convention in 2013, I think. I wasn't there, but heard about it, and so that is the path we went. And so I'm going to show you about 10 screens here and try to be done by 10 to 1 maybe. So this is our landing page. I'm not going to, so if you go to the city URL, you hit finance and transparency, or if you just in the search features hit financial transparency, it'll take you to this page. And there just a little bit about what it is. There's a short, 24-second thing. I'm not going to take the time to do that. Well, maybe I will. Let's just, or it's a minute 24. There's no audio, but it'll just show you some quick screenshots here. And we'll be seeing some of this more live. We liked this company's graphics. What you're buying from this company is just a lot of built-in graphics and sorts and slicing and dicing and so forth. So we'll be doing some of this navigation as we go through the live site. So. You just get a flavor of that. Okay, so I think I'll just jump into the live site here. now we're going to an external website. This is actually hosted by OpenGov, and they subcontract their web hosting to Amazon. So we're actually on an Amazon website here. And this is our kind of first screen, and I just want to, I'll point out a couple of things here. So the default opening screen for us is expenditures by department over time, right? And and the default, there's choices, and we'll be going through some of these choices, but it's this sort of stacked line kind of format, and there's some built-in kind of queries that we have put in here, what we think are maybe some commonly asked questions, and then departments just in alphabetical order, and the smaller departments are grouped. If you can show more, and now you get a whole bunch of other little departments, including, yeah. So you get a few more departments, and sort of scroll through here. So now I got my little cheat sheet here. We have the platform we bought, you have 3 different reports. We have, and let me get my little pointer. Annual report, that's where the default starts. A current year, which is a monthly report, and balance sheet, which is for those of us in finance world, it ties to the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. Our annual and current year report are just budget reports. They do not tie to the CAFR, okay, for anyone who cares about that. So that's kind of their basic package in this company. They're selling a lot more add-ons now since we started 2 years ago. So far, it's still in the basic world here. So a couple of features. So here we have spending by departments, and one thing we liked is they have it. You just push buttons to show stuff in different ways. Here's a 100% graph. When you hover, everything adds up to 100%, but then it shows you what percent in addition to what dollar amount. And if you want to see lines, there's probably too many lines, but for some of the displays, the line graph is the preferred option. Pie graph, this is kind of cool. So with the pie, it's just 1 year, right? And it's the most recent year, which is our current budget year. We're just showing the budget for this year. But then you go down here, and you can slide to past, and just. Now we loaded data back to 2008. That was the beginning of a system conversion for us, so that was handy, easy for us. Mary was involved in that decision. Mary, who's our director of accounting. So, but it's pretty easy to navigate here, and then for those of us who like bar charts, here's a bar chart. So lots of different displays. We set the default here. You can set the default any way you want. So, now, another thing that we liked, underneath any of these graphs, anywhere you go in here, there's a table. All of the numbers above that are behind the graph are right here. And that was pretty, we like that a lot. So if you want to drill down to deeper, and in our case, the vendor said, well, it's up to you. You can show a little bit of detail, a lot of detail, or all of your detail. We ended up showing a little detail, some detail. So here I'll just take you through. So Public Works is our biggest department. And here the next level of division, Public Works. And then if we do transportation maintenance, we get to, this is all the budgetary sections of transportation maintenance over time. And then our choice was to leave it at this level, kind of the third level down. And so snow and ice control, this is how much the city spent on So nice control over time, right? Now, we're here, and say you want to, kind of export some of these numbers or whatever. You got lots of choices under this button. No, I have not personally. Other people may have. I have not. Exported this to Facebook, Twitter, whatever, email. But those of us who are into social media can do that. But I have done this a lot. You can download a picture of the graph, a picture of the table. This is kind of cool. So this, what happened here? Oh, it's down here. So now that is just a snapshot, and that you can load into a report, or send, somebody calls you, a manager calls you, how much is whatever, and you just send them him or her a picture, and then if you, of course, want to do something, then if you really want to, let's go back a level or two here. So here we are back at this, everything under transportation maintenance, and you want to actually do something with it in Excel. It throws it into Excel, and then you can. Hi, Todd. So there you go for that. So I don't know what that is. Okay, we're in some other thing. Where am I?
Excel.
Help me out, Peter.
Minimize.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how am I doing? Okay. So then now maybe we want to do something other than just seeing total expenditures, and so we go over to filters and say, let's see, I have a little plan here. So expense by department is the default, but maybe we want to see expense by expense type. Maybe we, so now the basic building blocks of public budgets for most of us are your budgetary, your department structure, however many levels that is, your fund structure, and then your account codes, whether it's an expense code or a revenue code. This system, you can sort by any of that, and you can filter to any combination of that you want. And of course, some departments don't spend some funds; it'll gray that out. So, but it will show all active combinations of fund, department, and expense or revenue type. So here, maybe we want to, overtime, salaries. People care a lot about how much, are you paying in salaries? Well, that's how much the city spent on salaries and wages for, all these years. And say you want to zero in on overtime, and so that's how much we spend on overtime. And say, oh, I want to know how much the we're still in Public Works here. I'm sorry, we're down in Public Works, but let's say we care about say we want to do a different department. Let's say we want to know how much police spend in overtime or any other department, and you just click on that department, and you can actually drill down underneath police as well. So, we also show revenue. So we are uploading both revenue and expenditure budgets. So here's revenue by revenue type across the whole city. And, a lot of people want to know how much do you raise in taxes. So you drill down to taxes. What do we do here? Yeah, well, I think I'm missing something. Oh, I know why. I'm in police. That's why. Yeah, I want to be in all. There we go. Now we're going to see more taxes. Yeah. Whoops, what happened here? Anyway.
Select all.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, so here we have our what is grouped under our tax category. So
Very modest, we're impressed.
pardon?
Very modest, we're impressed.
Yeah, that's just a continual issue for our city. So those of us who are in, now here's a choice we made. Those of us in this world know that there's many kinds of property taxes, and there's probably, I don't know, Mary, how many 10 account codes underneath property taxes?
Probably, yeah.
We chose not to display that. It was a conscious choice. We sat around and we took our 374 expense codes and our 200 and something revenue codes, and we had a conversation over a period of weeks. What would make sense to display publicly to most people? So for overtime, we left it at overtime. We have 6 different kinds of overtime, you know, that sort of thing. So we left it at overtime. So we ended up with like 70 expense codes rather than 374, which we thought would be overwhelming. I'm running out of time here. I'm going to just show a couple things and then hand it over. I think Cindy's next. So here's the monthly, and I'll just show 1 or 2 things for monthly. So the default is just August of every year, but then you can change that by doing month over month, and then you get sort of year to date, you know, by month expenditure. You can do this a couple different ways. So, you know, various choices on monthly. We also, this site, this platform allows you to hang off of the site right here up to 3 documents. So we put our most recent 2 budgets. So if you click on this, you go to the mayor's recommended 2017 budget, and there it is. Here's the 455-page PDF budget, right? Now we haven't loaded the numbers yet for a couple. You know, there's some issues there, but anyway, just the point being that we've got ties to some basic documents and our most recent CAFR. So. User stats, it's on the worksheet here. We are averaging around 1,300 site visits a month. In the 18 months so far, we've had about 2,200 unique visitors, and they're from all over. I'm one of the administrators of the site, and so we have a Google Analytics page that we can go look at and see the top 5 locations and the site traffic for the last 90 days and that sort of thing. So with that, I think I'll pass it on to Cindy.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
How much extra staff time does it take you?
Well, right. Okay. So the startup, that's a very good question, and people were concerned about that. It was, I think we were about a 3-month, once we actually landed on OpenGov, there was a small group of us that took probably about 3 months to make these decisions, upload some test sites. We were working on a QA site for a while, do some training, go talk to a lot of the finance people around so that nobody was surprised. Go talk to the department head, talk to the council so that nobody was so surprised. The ongoing maintenance now per month is about 2 hours. Would you say, well, Nicole, you just uploaded August, right? How much?
From my perspective, 1 hour. I had Mary review prior to the actual update.
Yeah, it's very minimal.
Is it tied to your financial system? Can you pull it out of your financial system?
Yeah, it's not automated. We actually
have to create a file and then download it.
It's a very simple Excel spreadsheet on department account dollar.
Yeah, so we do upload monthly expenses, and we upload the current budget because the budget does change a little bit each month. We want the budget to reflect the current budget. So I know this vendor is doing some beta work with automatic hot load, you know, to tie into whatever your local system. We have not gone there yet. So I want to let Cindy start. So.
I may have inadvertently closed wrong site, so I'm just playing with it after this. Ron, you're going to be challenged. All right. Hennepin County also interviewed OpenGov, which is the vendor that Minneapolis selected, and we were very impressed with their product. And after we saw their demo, we thought, you know, we already own Cognos financial systems, financial reporting systems, and we have some really good in-house developers in that area, Andrew being one of them now. And the OpenGov site wasn't giving us as much flexibility. You know, in the demo, they show you what it is, and you kind of go, but could it do that? And said, well, maybe if we worked on this or that. So we kind of thought we'd just go ahead and try developing our own site based on the Cognos software that we opened. Does anybody in the room have Cognos? You do? Okay, well. So that part of it may not be relevant to you, but it's just a, you know, an offering out there that it doesn't have to be vendor hosted. It can be in-house as well. You said something that's transferable. If somebody had Cognos, would you be willing to share, or is it shareable? Is it shareable, Andrew? This is why I brought Andrew.
Behind any Cognos report is actually just an ASP file. And those are exportable, so in theory they would be, but because it's a reporting tool that just simply overlays PeopleSoft data, it's not something that would be passable from one system to another. The expertise that you would have with just any sort of in-house developer that you would have, and any reporting tool, whether it's SSRS or some other tool like Cognos, they could theoretically develop something similar if they have a graphics package.
And they could certainly talk to us.
Right.
It's good. So one of the things we wanted to do, well, let's just start at the beginning. Our objectives for the system were financial transparency, and we really wanted the process to be simplified. We wanted it to just be raw data that comes out of our system. We wanted to be accurate, easy to maintain, and then after we decided to go in-house, we met Joanne Harris is over here. She's in our budget office, our Cognos people, and our financial people. So all the accountants are going, oh my gosh, you're going to put our raw data out there, and it doesn't really tie to our capper because we do all this background stuff to make it gap. And in Hennepin County, I'd say that we generally try to keep our financial system useful to our managers. So we're not as strict about some things, some of the raw data, where it's placed, or how they use it, because we want it to be user-friendly for our managers in our departments. So that was my big concern is, what do we do about the fact that raw data is never going to be easily traced to our staff? So we started with this navigation, welcome to navigation site, where somewhere on this page we say, go to our capper if you want the real view. We also talk about how to move around, within these tabs, how to see different filtering, and to see different types of graphs, as Jeff was showing. How to drill down into links. Unlike Minneapolis, we did go down to the account level. Is it useful? I don't know, but it's transparent. I'll give you just a little tour of the site. As we go into the third tab here is county-wide. You'll see that we have had this up and running since 2012. You can see our revenues in blue, our expenditures in red. And we do show actuals for all the prior years. Whatever the current year is always going to be budget until it's audited. So we don't put numbers out here monthly. A lot of our departments don't do monthly accruals, so if we put monthly numbers out here, they would be unusual. And we really wanted at least the raw data to add up to something that we can see in our audited financial reports.
Of transparency. I noticed your 2016 revenue and expenditure budgets are a lot higher. But
that in all your prior years.
Joanne? Well, see, this is budget. Well, those are actual.
Yeah, I know. I wonder if you guys budget high or.
Is budget high?
Budget pretty conservatively. There could be within that, into the capital budget as well. We have a lot of big capital projects going on in the county at this time, so it means that we may, over the last 4 years, we've heard about certain mandates from the state. We've had to react to, until all of that is built in there. We have to drill down further, and as you look through the presentation, you should be able to, if you would drill down by department, you should be able to isolate and see where that.
And I can tell you that a lot of that is because we did not issue any debt in 2016, and I think we're doing 3 issuances in 2016. So those are big numbers. So that is overall. We can drill down on countywide. While it's loading, I wanted to mention a couple things. If we had decided to go with monthly, we also had some discussion about encumbrances. And I don't know if you guys ever got into the encumbrance discussion, but some of the people in our group thought, well, if you did monthly, you'd want to show what your commitments are against your budget. You'd want to show your encumbrances. That gets way in the weeds in accounting, and I don't think your average user would have understood what that is. So that's another reason why we decided annual was a little better for our situation. I did drill down into, these are different programs at Hennepin County. It's, again, the same type of chart and format, with the budget being the last 2016 numbers are our budget. I think if we go down into capital budget,
The level of detail that you get more questions from.
that's what I was worried about, but guess what? No questions. Yeah, I was so worried.
About the general government, where you have revenues, waste, or.
All our taxes are under general government, which throws things way out of whack. But we wanted things to feed in the way they are in our system without all this work.
Who is pulling it straight from the system?
I'm sorry?
Pulling all the data straight from your
Straight
system.
from our system. So these are different departments under capital projects. And if we drill down a little farther, I put libraries. Our budgets are not at this level, so you know that's every screen I click on, I can see something that bothers me. So this is the whole resistance to transparency. How many questions will you get if you don't drill down to this level? These little nuances or big nuances won't show up. But if you want to get down to, you know, here's what we are actually doing. Here's our actual information, detail by detail. The only way to do that is to go with what you've done in the system or have some big manipulations.
Your decision not to do employee salaries or vendor payments a function of a policy decision, or the application wouldn't allow it, or do you think the information was ready for prime time? Or?
Well, you know what? That information's out there in different venues, so why duplicate it? You know, the vendor information is published in Finance and Commerce every year. We spend over $5,000 with any vendor. They're listed out there. Employee salaries, there's a website.
In the budget document, there would be summaries of the salary information for something like.
We have, yeah, the salaries are there. There's no people in our capital projects fund, so there's no. Are there any salaries here? No. But the salary totals per account number are there. So that's a couple of things. Oh, we also made the decision to have a new window open for every time you click, so you're actually going to be able to go back to what you were on or not, depending on your wishes. And the other perspectives are revenue or expenditure by program, which eventually got there on the countywide site, as well as revenue by type and expenditures by type. And we did make the decision to break out our regional railroad authority and our housing and redevelopment authority. They're blended component units of the county, and they, as with HDMC, is a discretely presented component unit of the county. We don't even put them on this site. So there's some decisions like that that if you're thinking about doing an OpenGov type system, you want to think through. I want to just look through my notes and see if there were other decisions that we made that would be interesting to you. So give me one second. Oh, fund level. We don't show fund level. That was a win for me because that really makes the glaring error between the CAFR and the fund on this site so obvious. And we thought the typical user of the site really wouldn't know a fund from, they're more interested in the programs, we thought. I ended early, and you're pointing at something, Andrew.
I was just going to say there's also alternative ways to view this information. So using the display that Cindy just clicked on, users could potentially see this mapped out with line graphs, pie charts, or they could export the information to Excel. And that opened right through using Chrome. And so whatever information that you would see on any page, a user out in the public, if you go the fifth dot from the lower left,
there you go.
Chrome browser. So any one of our end users that are out in the public, or any sort of person that you would think would have a use for a financial transparency platform, they would be able to encapsulate that information and take it with them and export it and manipulate it should they want to on their own. So that's basically...
A heads up though, we don't really promote this to our internal financial managers because, like I said, it's raw data. We don't want someone who's inexperienced with what we may or may not do in the financial statements to suddenly be providing this information to a board member, for example. We want them to come to the Office of Budget and Finance and ask for help. So, and as I think you guys did more promotion of the site, Hennepin County has never promoted the site. It's on their website. People can navigate to it. We don't promote it. It's there for people who want to go and find it.
Did you get graded in transparency or no?
I'm sorry.
Did you get graded in transparency?
I don't. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Probably. I didn't. It wasn't communicated.
Okay, do your grade.
One other thing, just because, well, most of us in here would be stewards of the public purse, I guess. Developing something like this in-house and using an in-house platform can be a significant savings over contracting with a vendor as well. And financial considerations of a smaller organization might be worth examining prior to jumping on board to any sort of decision or platform. I'm not sure if there's ongoing licensing fees with OpenGov or
so we
expenses,
pay. I mean, it's public. When we signed on with these guys, we got a price that they no longer offer because we agreed to do it for 2 years with an optional renewal of up to 5. We pay around $25,000 a year to just do this, and all we do is export our files to them an hour a month. There was not any design work, like I said, when we signed on with them, we were in the midst of a major financial upgrade, and all of the excess energy was going to that. Now if you went and looked at their site and talked to them, this company sizes their fee by your budget. So it's a sliding scale depending on the size of your budget. I have no idea what, it would be double right now for us if we signed on today. So.
We just don't have additional costs. It's a small part of what Andrew does.
Your ongoing programming, can you work on this, Andrew, on
There's,
an ongoing basis?
no, this is just something I go in and update and relink to our underlying data whenever we would have, for instance, a new budget published or a new CAFR published. It would just basically be repointing links after the initial build. It's not that hard to maintain.
All right, I'm up. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ron Movitz. I'm with the state of Minnesota, Minnesota Management and Budget. And I took some notes here when I was listening to Cindy and Jeff talk. And what you're going to notice about our site is there's a lack of graphs. And so we're just pretty much a pure data site. And so I think that might be because we have an Oracle solution that's called OBI. It's Oracle Business Intelligent Enterprise Edition. And we built our site as we were implementing a new financial system. And one of the things that we had trouble with this software in particular was making it ADA compliant. And so we chose just to show data because it was easier for us to do that and be ADA compliant. So I don't know if your softwares are or aren't, but
I have no idea.
it was something our legislature wanted, and so so that's why you'll notice that difference. The other differences are we don't show revenue, so and then we don't we show a little more detail. So we get down into more of the payment, almost at the transaction level, vendor level, and so. But before we get into some of the reporting, I just wanted to quickly give you some history of the state's financial site. So right in our more about transparency here, I'll give you a little historical context. The state has been providing a transparency site since 2008, and our first attempt was called TAP Minnesota, Transparency and Accountability Project Minnesota. And at that time, we just launched a site that showed payments to vendors and professional technical service contracts. And the big driver of providing that first site was the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. And so they required a lot of reporting, and a lot of states were kind of encouraged to go that route to provide some of that reporting. So, and it's all up here in this paragraph under historical context. And so that was our first effort. And then in 2012, we retired our TAP Minnesota transparency site and launched this new site, which we call Transparency MN. And the big driver for the new site was actually the Minnesota legislature. So they amended a statute and required MMB to develop a searchable database that would show appropriation information, expenditures, payments, contracts, grants, tax expenditures, and state audits. And so they wrote that right into the law, and it was kind of written into the law when we went and asked for funding for a new system. They said, we'll give you money for a system, but this is what we want. So so when we go back to the site, you'll see that that was a big influence on what we're doing with our transparency site. And then the final thing is you'll see this follow the money. So there's this public research group called US PIRG, and they evaluate all state transparency sites annually, and they give them a grade. And so, and their criteria continues to change as states do more and more with these transparency sites. And so, so we need to stay on top of our transparency site to make sure that we're maintaining a decent grade. And so we got a grade of a B. See if it opens quick. Sometimes it takes a little while to open. So if we go down, this is kind of a graphic of the grades, and you see we're a blue state, which is a B state, and then down on the bottom, you can see we're kind of a middle of the pack state. So, and there's some, Ohio's an A+ state, so they do a lot. So, so we continually look at what their requirements are for these grades and continue to upgrade or modify our website to try to enhance our grade in this area. So with that said, I just wanted, so this is the home site for Transparency Minnesota. And over on the right-hand side, these are our topics. And so Minnesota Open Checkbook, that would be any of the solutions where we're using our searchable database. And so, and just to give you some information, that information, or give you an idea, we update that information daily. So when you go and look at this information, it's updated as of the end of business day yesterday. And we're able to do that because we're using the same data warehouse solution and software that we use for our agencies who do operational reporting. And so, and then anything under related information, this is stuff that, these are more static reports that are on other agencies' websites. And so we'll launch OBI and look at, I'll show you what it looks like, and then you'll really see that we're pretty much a strictly data type solution. So this is payments to vendors. So this doesn't have any payroll information. It's just how much we paid vendors for. And we always default to the current year. The state is on a fiscal year, July 1st to June 30th. Their fiscal year. So we're currently in budget year 17. And as you see, this is what this optimization contact for screen readers. This is our ADA compliance stuff. And this is where, when we were working on the project, we had a lot of trouble trying to get graphs to read right in there. So we went away from that, went more with a strictly data type solution. This are the different views. So for payments, you can look at the payments by agency view, payee view, expense view, fund view, or program view. And program is more our budget programs. So if you want to look at it as that type, you click on that view. And then we have filters within each view that help you select the, or select the information that you're looking for. Anytime you see a blue number in our transparency, you can drill on that amount. And so, and it only renders 25 rows to start with, but you click on, if you click on that double blue arrow button, it will bring in all the state agencies. So there's over 100 state agencies here, and you can see we spent over $10 billion with vendors so far this year, and our fiscal year started in July. So there's features here to export what you're seeing into, and you can export it into Excel, PDF, PowerPoint, that type of thing. You can print it, refresh it. We always provide some information with our export so the person knows what their filters were, and we put a date and time stamp on when you exported it. So you kind of know, because our data changes every day, if they call and ask a question, it's nice to know what day they ran it and what numbers they're looking at. There's also functionality within this tool that allows you to sort ascending, descending real quick. You just hover above the column and sort ascending, descending. So this is, we're in an agency view. So these are the agencies that have spent the most with vendors so far this year. I hate to pick on one of the other agencies, so I'll pick on my own. And so Minnesota Management Budget spent $200 million in fiscal 17. So if you click on that, it's going to drill. I hope it's drilling. Is it drilling? It's going to render the vendors that we paid and the amount we paid them. And again, you can sort descending on that, and you can see the big vendors that we paid. And so you see the health care companies are who we make our biggest payments to. So this is who we paid, and then we have one more drill level because it's blue, and this is what we paid them for. So if you click to this final screen, we're saying we paid these vendors, and we paid them for medical claims. So it's the big number here. And then we pay them some administrative costs, which is the smaller number. So that's kind of how this software operates. You can always go to Payments Home here and then back out to the Transparency site if you want. I wanted to show you one additional view in this Payments tab. So if you were wondering, so what did we pay Xcel Energy for 2016? For that, we'd go into this Payee view, and I'm just showing you how to use the filters now. And you say, I want to see 2016. I'm going to select Xcel Energy. Well, we have 300,000 vendors in our vendor file, so it's not like you're going to go through this list and find Xcel Energy. So what you want to do is go to this advanced search button, and you can just say contains, and oh, it is. Yeah. contains XCEL. Here's all the vendors that contain that. The ones on the bottom here are the ones that we're interested in. So you can click on the first one, hold the shift button, bring them over into the criteria, say OK, and apply. So these are the vendors that all 100 plus state agencies have paid for the year. So Excel, all 100 state agencies have paid Excel Energies in 2016 right around $54 million. And so if you want to drill into that a little bit more and see what those agencies, who those agencies are, you click in on the, it's blue so you can drill on it. And it comes back by, so see, Cindy, we do provide fund, which I agree gets in the way. And so when fund is in this result, it's hard to tell how much the Department of Administration total up to for all of the funds. And so what this software lets you do is you can hover over the title again, right-click, and you can say exclude this column. And what it does is it'll remove that column and roll everything up to agency level. So it's real flexible software, but it's like I said, we don't have a lot of graphs. It's strictly data, and hopefully you can turn that data into information. Go ahead.
I hadn't thought to ask the other presenters, but I saw as you were clicking through this, you had some state agencies that have a considerable amount of their budget coming as pass-through money from the federal government. Is that so? What you're showing as expenditure includes that pass-through?
It would include the pass-through money. Yep.
How do you deal with members of the public that contact your agency for information that you know is on the site? You know, in this example, somebody, I don't know why, but they contact you and they say, you want to know about all your Excel Energy payments.
Right.
Is your standard answer, is all there on the site, go to the site? Do you direct them to the site? Do you help them with the site? Do you run reports for the site as a response to the request? Are they on their own? How do you?
Yeah, and so we actually set up an email address just for Transparency Minnesota. And so that's where we receive questions from folks. And we try to direct them here first and try to get the answer resolved here first, just because it's easiest for everyone. A lot of times, the only time we would vary from that is if they're asking for more detail than what we're providing in our site.
Is that workload increase? You see that very...
You know, it's funny, we really thought we were going to get overwhelmed with questions, and when we first launched, maybe the first month was busy, then it got super quiet. We have 2,800 users a month coming on the site.
Yeah, same with us. A lot of nervousness in our department, our finance officer at the time. Oh man, we're going to get a lot of questions. We'll put information out there. We set up an email address. There's about 5 of us who get this, email address, Mary's191. After the first month, 0. No emails, no phone calls.
It actually did. Data entry people.
Now we assume the City Hall reporter is on our site and knows how to get the stuff that he needs, but no phone calls.
So did you see reduced phone calls from the City Hall reporter then?
No. Maybe about finance.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Jeff, do you promote this for internal use?
So like I said, our solution is the same internal and on transparency, and so we have operational reports that look similar to this. So most users just use those operational reports because they provide a little bit more detail than what we're showing on transparency. But I mean, there are agencies who have told us that they just use this site for the reporting because it provides information.
Yeah, so in our case, the vendor allows, and we set up an internal view that allows full account code detail. And remember I said we kind of summarized, so internally you can look at all account code detail. Like Ron, most of our users are using our ongoing core financial reports. But I have had some conversations with some of the sort of embedded finance people in the larger departments who like the graphic capability because our core financial reports don't come with built-in graphs. And And so, for example, I was talking to, what's her name, please? Robin, yeah, who said, oh, wow, graphs. You know, I can just cut and paste that and, you know, put it in a report to the chief. So there's some of that. We haven't heavily promoted that.
Especially because we didn't make the decision to make the adjustment period and any of the details. So it goes to period 12, but the CAFR adjustments are not in the system. In ultimate winners. So our controller likes to say it's not our books and records. It's useful for a high level graphic.
And I should quickly point out that we specifically exclude internal payment funds on our dashboard, and we have a lot of them.
And we put a disclaimer, because we're showing the information as it is in the accounting system daily, we put a disclaimer in that saying, don't try to tie this out to our CAFR, or don't try to, because it's not going to happen. So, so let's go to Transparency Home, and maybe we'll just, we'll open the state budget site just quick, and then, does anyone have any questions, or does anyone want to see anything in particular of any of the three sites? I mean, we're kind of running low on time, otherwise I'll launch this, just kind of show you what our budget site looks like. And this takes a little longer to load.
I was wondering if I could ask, did any of you solicit input from residents or other stakeholders into what they were looking for on these sites as you developed them, or was it internal people getting, I heard a couple of internal staff getting together and thinking it through. Did you get outside voices at all in that process?
In our case, no.
In our case, we were specifically instructed to get it done quickly and simply. No, we did not.
In the state's case, no. Yeah. So here is what our budget report looks like. And so it's by agency, fund, program, activity. And then we have an available amount, the amount budget. So the difference between available and budgeted is if they haven't allotted or budgeted the money, then this is how much is available for them to budget. This is how much they've budgeted. And the way this site works is you can drill on available amount, and you'll bring an appropriation level detail. So we go from program activity level detail to the actual appropriation level detail. And then once that, and this site runs a little slower, like I said, so so it's spinning up there. One thing you'll notice, though, if you come to our site, once you run these reports once and you back up and you run them a second time, they run a lot faster. So I don't know why the initial run is so slow, but so like the accountancy board is a pretty simple agency, right? So they have a program accountancy board, activity accountancy board, and they have one appropriation accountancy board. So available amount shows how their budget was, if it was all an appropriation or if it was appropriation, dedicated receipts, all that good stuff. And then if you go to the spend amount over here, they'll give you a list of detail of how they spent their money. And Cindy, see, we do include encumbrances on there, yeah. And so, and we do that so we can show, you know, the remaining. We didn't want people to come out here and think that we budgeted 641, they only spent 88, so they have all this extra money. What are they doing? And so that helps us say, you know, they really don't have a lot of extra money once they pay off their obligations. And so this is kind of a screen that shows expense by category, you know, and it still has the budgeted, obligated, spent, and then the variance.
Continually update the budget amount before like a budget amount to come in?
We do monthly. That's what Nicole does.
Okay.
We do have the room for another 10, 15 minutes.
I have to be by 1:45, which means I need to have the room set by 1:45. So usually we have it for longer, but if today I could request that folks do networking down in the lobby, that would be helpful.
Okay. So why don't we just stay here for another 5 minutes, but we always break at 1:30 because that's what we promised you. So if anyone needs to leave at 1:30, you can't get back to work or wherever, now is the time. More questions.
Good.
Well,
That's very different. Yeah, I hadn't seen your site beforehand, and so, that's very different then. Yeah.
Remembering that
And we were able
we had swapped emails and I had to
It was during so we had a 2-year project that we upgraded our system, so we had a large group of people on our system upgrade, and we had a data warehouse